So I want to go back to a picture I showed you on the very first night. Okay, so it's a picture of the women's lead pack in the 2009 Boston Marathon. One of the runners in the pack is Kara Goucher. I'm going to talk about her in a minute. But what benefits are these runners getting from working together?
Morale.
What's that? They're running more relaxed. They don't have to think, right? And they shouldn't be thinking, because typically when a runner thinks in the middle of a race, the thoughts aren't good. Many times they're not good, right? So elite runners learn that in place of thinking, they had concentration. They're concentrating only on one thing, and that is running with the pack that they're in, right? And they know as long as they run in that pack, their race is going to be good, and probably better than it would be if they leave that pack, okay? So I wanted to remind you of that and encourage you, even though we no longer have formal running groups, that you should still be working together with the people that are close to you. And you will get more benefit from most runs and workouts if you work together than if you're a short ways in front of a group that is working together. A couple other stories about this. Kara Goucher's goal before this race was to win, right? So that's everything she did in advance of this race. All of her training, racing prior to it, was set up to give her a chance to win this race, okay? So when she was training for this race, what do you think she was thinking about?
Running.
I'd hope.
She, in many cases, in workouts like the one we're going to do tonight, she was visualizing, pretending, however you want to describe it, that she was right where she is at the moment this picture was taken. In her mind, when she was running workouts, doing tempo runs, long runs, she was right here, with this group. Because you have to practice the concentration, right? You have to practice the positive thinking, all the things that go into success, all right? So, you don't get to race day and just think that you can execute while your mind's been wandering through all the workouts, right? So we really need to work on concentration and focus during workouts. It's a very important thing. Lastly, if you see a picture at the finish line of this race, you'll see two Africans approaching the finish line. Kara Goucher about 15 yards behind. She finished third. Okay, so the question, did she fail? Okay, why do you say that?
Well, she did win, right?
She did everything she could to meet her goal, right?
Sometimes they're personal victories.
And by the way, I agree with you. She did everything but fail, right? But yet, I've noticed for most of us, when we set a goal and we don't achieve it, for some reason we think we failed. Okay? So two things happen. One is because you're afraid of the failure, you set a goal that's lower than you could really achieve, right? So it's easy. But then a lot of times when you do that, you're not motivated, right? Because the goal doesn't excite you. So the way to treat goals and the way to think about your potential and what you can achieve is to think bigger than you think you should, right? Set high goals for yourself. Do all the things that we talk about to try to achieve them. And then, in the end, whether or not you've actually reached them or not, you've succeeded. Not only that, but you've probably achieved at a much higher level than you ever would have if you hadn't set that high goal. You know, if Kara Goucher's goal was to finish in the top 10, where would she have finished?
11.
Probably not third. Probably not third. Okay, so our first race of the season, we have 7 races. First one is Sunday. And even though we have 7 races, and this is a new characterization for me, but I like it, the first 4 are workouts in disguise. Right? They're not really races in the typical sense of the word. They're preparation for the races later that matter, right? So what I'll be doing for you is describing what you should do to approach this race, and I'll be giving you instructions on how you can determine whether or not you're successful. Because after 5 weeks of training, you can't necessarily expect to do your absolute best in a race, right? All this is a step in the process, right? So I'm going to give you specific ways to determine whether or not you're successful or not in this particular race. And it will have very little to do with whether or not you've run fast in comparison to how fast you've run in the past. All right.